Good morning, friends. Welcome to worship. This has been a difficult week for me as a person and as a pastor in the midst of a pandemic. I've been struggling with feeling disconnected, feeling confused, feeling off balance. So I thought I would share with you what helps me when I experience all those feelings. Thought I'd share with you what helps me when I'm feeling frustrated, when I'm struggling. And what I like to do is I like to write in a journal. And what I like to write are my prayers. So about the middle of the week, I knew I needed to sit down and get out my journal, and so I began writing, and I began confessing that I was frustrated, and I was grouchy, and I was discouraged, and I was empty. And my confession is actually a lament. And what I was lamenting was the fact that being a decent person in such a time as this, and being a decent pastor in such a time as this, takes an awful lot of hard work. And I don't mind working hard. I'm actually a very hard worker. But this social distancing thing, this being apart from each other, that kind of work is different, and it's difficult. So I prayed that a circle of grace would surround me, and I asked that the Spirit would melt me, mold me, fill me, and bless me. Bless me so I can be a blessing to others. And then I wrote this statement: when I ask, I receive. When I ask, I receive. And then I questioned that statement. Do I really? Do I really receive when I ask? And then I answered that question. Yes. Yes. I receive when I ask, 99.9% of the time. Usually what I receive is something that's written in a book, a little piece of inspiration, some words that capture my imagination, and it's always quite delightful and for some reason surprising. And it happens this way because the Spirit of God speaks my language. The Spirit of God knows me. The Spirit of holiness knows that my language is books. Friends, the Spirit of God knows you too. The Spirit of God speaks your language too. It's part of the gift, part of the mystery. When we ask, we do receive. So after writing in my journal for a while, and after confessing and lamenting and wondering, I picked up a book. And I picked up Circle of Grace by Jan Richardson. And I just opened it at random to a blessing that I've never read before. And the name of this blessing is The Blessing of a Seed. And it starts out with these words: I should tell you at the onset, this blessing will require that you do some work. And I thought, oh, okay. I was lamenting the hard work, and here comes this blessing. Actually, I should say, here comes this God speaking to me. Nothing is easy during this pandemic. Staying home, staying away, watching everything from a distance. It's hard work. So let me tell you from the outset, the blessing will require you do hard work. Then the blessing of the seed goes on to say you must simply let this blessing fall from your hand. Now keep in mind I'm writing while I'm reading. I'm reading and I'm writing. I'm journaling and I'm lamenting and confessing and complaining and praying and reading a blessing that says you're going to have to do some hard work and you need to let the blessing come from your hand. So then I begin wondering, exactly what is this blessing? Exactly what are we talking about here? What are my blessings? And so at that point, my complaining, my lamenting, turned to wondering and wandering. What are my blessings about? So this is what I wrote in my journal. The blessing to me is the United Church, a community of peace and justice, a people who believe that they are a movement for wholeness in a fragmented world. That is a blessing. Even when we move towards each other from a distance. The blessing to me is my faith. The blessing to me is this way of life which surrounds me. The blessing is knowing that we are all struggling. And the blessing is knowing that sometimes all I can do and all we can do is read, write, watch from a distance, and pray. That is part of the blessing of mystery and intrigue. So I went on to pray for each and every one of you. And I ask that each and every one of you, that we all would be blessed, especially in these days of fear and uncertainty and unknowing, of struggling and grief. And all of these prayers I put in my handwriting. Because after all, first you have to let the blessing fall from your hand. And next you must trust that the blessing knows where it is going. You must trust that it understands the ways of the dark, that it is wise to the seasons. The blessing is wise to the time. Let the blessings go. Trust, rest, and learn. Something is happening, even when we don't fully understand that something is happening. The blessing ends with this promise that the blessing is always on its way back, and it will show up when we least expect. This blessing comes from me to you, and it will circle back. The blessing comes from you to me, and it will circle back. We draw the circle wide. We draw the circle wider still. No one stands alone. That's our song. Draw the circle wide.